Welcome to another Cup of Joe. I'm your host, Joe Chimolo, CEO of PG Partner. Welcome back, my wonderful longtime friend and guest, Greg Wilson, CEO of Stick Figure Fundraising. Welcome back, Greg.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you. I'm prepared, and I have my mug today. So
A salute. Wonderful. So, idea to talk about today for folks is this concept of 125 assigned donors per gift officer. And when I think of that, I talk a lot about my work last couple of years has been pretty much making phone calls for 4 or 5 different clients to donors. And the volume I'm doing, just to me, 125 people, I get through that in a couple of weeks. If I was doing it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, yeah, a couple of weeks. So is it 125 qualified donors? And I start with a bigger pool of maybe 1,750 people. And can I get them down to that? Or maybe it's only 75 people. Your thoughts, Guru?
Sure. I mean, I think if you want a major gift officer to stay and have a productive tenure at your organization, I think that 125 needs to be qualified. I think they should still have some unqualified people that they can always fill in to their day, to their work. Sometimes it gives you a nice break, but I agree, it has to be that qualified. I've been fortunate enough a couple times in my career to either create those, I'll call them like donor pools, like qualified donor pools myself, or to work with a team that was doing that. And your numbers are, I think, pretty on target. That takes a raw number of about 500 to 750 to boil that down to about 125 qualified prospects, suspects, donors, like whatever the term is for your shop kind of deal. And so I think you need to start with that big number and just work it down, and that's something, I know you and I talk about this, you have spoken about this a lot. Like, again, we don't know what donor is going to be ready at what time to make a gift, or who's going to be interested in having a deeper conversation with us. So why just say, oh, that person should be on there because they have a high capacity rating, when they might only want to give us go away gifts kind of deal, or their motivations for giving aren't anything super personal. So I think it's starting at that fat end of the funnel to narrow that down to that smaller qualified number of where you can, where interacting with 120 people does take up more than a couple weeks of your time, because all you're doing is dialing and leaving voicemails or sending emails that never get responded to. So yeah, I mean,
great. So any takeaway? Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I agree with you on that one. You have to make sure that's a qualified list for them.
So any suggestions for folks that maybe are building a major gifts program on I know you and I like to keep it simple. So just go into the database and start smiling and dialing.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from that. Look for patterns, look for people's giving history. I tend to look at that a lot more than somebody's capacity. So have they been giving regularly? And the big one to remember is, have they been giving regularly for what our organization's been doing? You can't ding a donor if they didn't make a gift, if you had transition in your annual fund that year and didn't send something out at the same time that you normally send something out. So, look for those patterns, again, within everything else that's going on. And then, just to your point, like start outreach and see who either emails you back, or see who calls you back, or who emails you back from your callback kind of deal. And just, find those people that do want to build a deeper relationship.
And maybe set a goal. Again, if we're building, all right, my goal we're in January of 2025 now. Let's say my goal would be by June, I want to get 50 qualified people. So this 125, oh my God, these guys are crazy. What have these guys been smoking? I'm never going to get 125, right? But all right, let's set a goal. Maybe it's 25, maybe it's 50 if we're a smaller shop. And then that'll be my goal every year, is just keep building it.
And within that, I would even say you could build incremental goals. I know that this is something that we've talked about an awful lot as well. So you set a weekly goal of, hey, I'm going to get, I'll call 20 new people this week that I've never interacted with before. And again, it's playing that numbers game. So I'll call 20 people to try to get one face-to-face meeting, or one, longer term telephone call where the person's not just on and off again in 3 minutes kind of deal. And again, set those incremental goals that all lead to, to those, 25 qualified donors or 50 qualified donors.
And how about, I don't know if this is any different, but the thought just occurred to me. Let's say you and I are starting work at a college. They cleaned house and we're in there running the shop. We need to hire gift officers. There were 125. We had 2 gift officers, and they had 125 qualified prospects. So we're bringing new gift officers in. You've worked and played at enough places. Would they give you just that here's 125, or would they say, no, we're going to give you the extra prospects to qualify? Does that make am I making sense with the question?
Yes. Yep. So I would still like reassign those individuals directly to another gift officer. But then for that gift officer coming in, I would still give them some discovery work. I don't think it's always just working that list that you have, because there's always going to be attrition, unfortunately, especially in the play and giving world. People do tend to leave us one way or another. And then that happens in the major gift world as well, that people are just like, oh, this was my season of life of giving at this institution, and now I have another organization that means a little bit more to me. So I want to focus on that one. And again, we don't know when that's going to happen. So we always need to be putting new people into that qualification process.
Great. Awesome. Greg Wilson, CEO of Stick Figure Fundraising. How can people get in touch with you?
Easiest way is by email, and that's just greg@stickfigurefundraising.me. Or if you want to check out the website, it's stickfigurefundraising.me.
Stickfigurefundraising.me. Say that 3 times real fast.
I know. Yeah, I should.
No, please go ahead. Say it real fast.
Yeah.
Thanks as always, Greg.
All right. Thank you.
You will.
Bye.